Hi, welcome to the Abyss Tarot T.A.T. Today's pick a card is going to be, what did you inherit from your ancestors? Okay, there is a good handful of tarot cards that represent ancestors, and the Ten of Pentacles happens to be one of them. So we're going to go ahead and use the Ten of Pentacles from 4 different decks. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the piles. So for pile 1, we have this Ten of Pentacles here from the Relative Tarot. Pile 1 is this Ten of Pentacles here. Okay. For pile 2, we have this Ten of Pentacles from the Forest of Enchantment. Pile 2 is the Ten of Pentacles from Forest of Enchantment. Okay, pile 3 is the Ten of Pentacles from Soul Seasons Tarot. Pile 3 is the Ten of Pentacles from Soul Seasons Tarot. Pile number 4, we have the Ten of Pentacles from the Abyss Tarot. Not my deck, okay? Pile 4 is the Ten of Pentacles from the Abyss Tarot. Okay, so go ahead, take a look at the piles. If you feel called to pick more than one pile, go right ahead. Timestamps will be down below, and I'll see you at your reading. Hi, welcome. So for those of you who chose pile number 1, this Ten of Pentacles here, I always like to associate the piles with an element. And so for this pile, I've associated it with air. So you could be a Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, okay? I'm also feeling fire with this pile, though, so you might be a fire sign, Aries, Leo, Sag. From looking at this picture, she looks really happy. For some reason, I get like she's a happy person, even though it seems like this is a time where things are hard, right? They're going through hard times, but it's almost like she's still happy. She's still seeing like the silver lining and things, and she's carrying this little baby, and she appears to be pregnant. And I didn't even see there's 2 little boys here, so they seem to have, a large growing family. So maybe you come from a large family, or you have a large family. Maybe you've had a lot of kids. I have a lot of kids. Okay, so maybe this is something that you have too, that you come from a large family, or you've had yourself a lot of kids. Also, maybe you also see the best things from the situation instead of just kind of being pessimistic. You seem to be more optimistic. Again, like I said, I feel fire. Also, I feel fire and air, because I have this feeling like you've inherited your personality of like having maybe the gift of the gab, or just being able to be fun and be funny. So I do feel that I don't feel like a stuffy, uptight personality from you. If you chose this pile, I feel you're somebody very like, it's a party if you're around, or it's a party, when the fire signs and the air signs get together, then that's a party, right? So I kind of feel that coming from your energy, and I also feel like that is from your ancestors. It's like being able to look at the positive even when times are tough or things are tough. Okay, so let's go ahead and get some cards here for you. Ooh. Okay. So we have the 2 of Swords, Libra energy. Okay. We have the King of Swords in the reverse, a Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. Okay. And we have the 7 of Swords, more air, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, all air energy. Very interesting here. Okay. King of Swords came out in the reverse, so he is in the middle. I also feel like something that you have is like you are quick to make decisions. Even though the 2 of Swords here, it's like somebody that doesn't know what to do. I don't know what choice to make. Here with the King of Swords in the reverse, 7 of Swords here, you're able to definitely make up your mind about something, especially when you see the negative of it. Like you don't let it prolong. You don't say, well, let me see if it gets better, or let me see if I like them, or you just like, you know what, this isn't going to work. Like you're quick about the negative things, about cutting out the negative things. Yeah, also, like I said, I feel like you have the gift of the gab. So this is also something that I feel like you got something from your ancestors, where you're able to say things to where maybe people might be like, ouch, but I do feel like you're able to speak with the truth and kind of like just say it. You don't beat around the bush is what I'm getting here. You definitely don't beat around the bush with your words. The 7 of Swords here, we do know that this card is about deception. It's about being sneaky, lying, cheating, but it's also the card of strategy. So, maybe in those times your ancestors had to figure out strategies to survive, right? To do what they needed to do. And I do feel that is something that you have also, that you're pretty good at figuring things out on what you need to do. So again, even if you're going through like a hard time, you're able to be like, look, I know it's going to get better because I'm going to do this, this, and that. I'm going to do steps A, B, and C to make it better. So I do feel like you're good with strategy and figuring a solution to the hard situations. Okay. And we have the Lovers in the reverse. Gemini energy, air again. All your cards are air, heavy air. Oh my goodness. Heavy, heavy air here. A lot of the mind, very intelligent, very good with communication. So that might be something that you also inherited from your ancestors, is the way you communicate. And again, you communicate in a way that it's like it's very straightforward and it's understood, right? Um, no beating around the bush here for you. Here with the Lovers in the reverse, that might be another thing too that you inherited from your ancestors, right? It could be um, maybe like failed relationships or things not working out. And again, cutting them out, saying like it's not working out, and you seem to cut people out right away. You're not going to prolong it. You're not going to let it drag on and be married 20 years and then say, okay, well, it hasn't been working out. In 20 years, it hasn't worked out, not even 1 year. So, you know what I mean? You're not about to do that. And that's also maybe something that your ancestors had, which with their relationships, if it was in a tough situation, they weren't going to prolong things. They could have also had where they were in third party situations where maybe they had like a side person or a lover, did something like that. And I feel like maybe you've been in that situation. Maybe you've had a side person, or you've been in a relationship with somebody that had somebody else on the side. But it almost seems like the cheating and the betrayal has been there kind of down the line. It's like saying somebody comes like from a family of cheaters or something like that. I'm kind of, getting that. This Lovers card is where it's two women here. It's two feminines here, and it's in the reverse. Okay, we have the Magician here, Gemini energy. Are you kidding me? More air. These are all air. Like we've had nothing else but air here. The Magician, manifesting, creating things. Mercury here. And again, it's like making the best out of the situations. I do feel like resilience is something you inherited, because maybe you've gone again through these tough times like they did. Probably not as tough as them, right? I mean, things have gotten better over the years to where you're not in that type of struggle as your ancestors. But I do feel like your tough situations, you've been able to kind of like figure it out and maneuver your way out of them. All right, let me get some cards from the Shadow Work deck, my friend Raya's deck. I have her decks linked in my description. So go ahead and check out her decks, check out her shops. And I have a 5% coupon too. So, okay. Pile one. Okay. And we have detached. Look at that. 32 breaking down to a 5 changes, choices, and challenges. It says, do you detach yourself from people and or situations to help you cope emotionally? What did I tell you? What did I tell you? You are able to detach yourself if it's not working out, or it's something that it's not right, it doesn't feel right, or you're just not connecting with it. You will detach yourself. You're not going to prolong it. And then here it is exactly. It's to help you cope emotionally, right? You're going to be like, I can do bad all on my own, right? Why do I need this person to go drag me down more, right? You have difficulty feeling fully engaging yourself emotionally with yourself and with others. Now, let me read it. It says, your emotional detachment may have resulted from trauma, abuse, or a previous encounter that was traumatizing. Previous events may make it difficult to be open and honest with a friend, a loved one, or significant other. Sometimes choosing detachment is a choice because this helped you remain cool and collected when dealing with people who upset you. Sometimes emotional detachment may result from traumatic events such as childhood abuse or neglect. This can lead to feeling depressed, reluctantly to show or share emotions and behavior problems. Understanding how you feel and act can help you understand why the detachment occurs in the relationships or when dealing with the stressful situation. Determine the specific situations and ongoing patterns. Learn to understand expressing your feelings in a healthy way for your mind and overall mental health. Detaching is not a bad thing when you are protecting yourself from harm. However, when you are not communicating your feelings effectively, it can become unhealthy and abusive to your partners. And we do have the King of Swords here in the reverse. And like I said, the King of Swords, you know, your ancestors would cut people out, detach from them, right? But it's in the reverse. So also at the same time, it can be a negative thing because it could be the way they communicate. It's also like the way you communicate. Again, like I said, no beating around the bush. You say it how it is, but it might not be the best communication too. Maybe, you know, this could be somebody that maybe talks a lot of crap, right? And maybe you talk a lot of crap too, or you just curse a lot, or, you know, okay. Let me get one more. So detached. Okay. And like I said, you've gone through tough times where you've also been able to see the silver lining, but those tough times could have been abuse, could have been childhood neglect. You know, she has all these kids, right? It could have been neglect, right? Okay, so we have 8 here with slow moving, and it's a snail. Okay, it says, are your fears of making mistakes due to wanting to appear to be perfect to others or slowing you down? Your fear of making decisions could impact your life in a negative way, but you end up staying stuck. So it's like with that Two of Swords energy about making decisions and making decisions. Okay, not making a decision is kind of like your decision, right? So it's kind of like, I'm not going to choose right now. I'm not going to decide, and that already in itself is a decision because it's like you're not doing it. You're not taking the action. You're not making the choice. So that could be your fear making decisions could impact your life in a negative way, but you end up staying stuck. So maybe feeling stuck too. Um, or again, just not making those choices that would have like got you moving. Hmm. Let me get one more, please. Here with this detachment, her shirt is ripped. Her shirt is full of holes. Look at that. So again, it's like those difficult times and just detaching in those difficult times or cutting out the people that you knew, you know, weren't best for you instead of prolonging it, and others may be telling you like, well, why didn't you give it a chance, or why didn't you make it work, or why didn't you stay with them longer, or why didn't you forgive the infidelity, or why this, why that. You were like, I had to, you know, let them go because it was what's best for me, because it was going to hurt me more in the long run, you know, it was going to bring more trauma. Okay. Oh, okay, let me pick it up. All right, and we have sensitive. 36, breaking down to a 9. Do you become easily offended when others question you or disagree with you? Look at that. Oh my gosh. Do you become offended being sensitive or being said you're too sensitive? You know, maybe you feel things too deeply. You have an increased emotional sensitivity and stronger reactivity to external and internal stimuli compared to the rest of the population. So, yeah, so maybe you pop off too, again, like with this King of Swords in the reverse. You might pop off, okay? And that is maybe, like I said, maybe something your ancestors did. Maybe they got angry, maybe they yelled, maybe they cursed, maybe they just, you know, really let people have it with their words. And that might be something that you do too. And again, this is very fire energy, right? Very fire, to get fired up right away. And so, you know, it says if you become easily offended, you might pop off. You might be prone to feeling stressed as a result of any conflict. You may be more likely to pick up on any signals in your relationships that feel off. Yeah, and I do feel like you pick up on things like right away with that. Things that feel off and worry that your relationship is in trouble. You may misinterpret cues in social situations as being a sign of conflict. Another person may have meant no harm and come from a place of kindness. However, you may misjudge the negativity, which can cause tension within a seemingly innocent encounter. You might not understand why other people are not reacting as strongly or as deeply as you. This can cause large levels of anxiety and stress and drain your energy. I was actually feeling anxiety. Like, this is a pile of people that get anxiety easily, you know? And again, you might be really cool with like your friends and people and stuff like that, but I do feel like you get maybe social anxiety from being like with other people or people that you haven't met or in places that you haven't been to before. And again, it could have to do because you're sensitive. You are a sensitive and you feel everything very intensely. So you pick up on things that others aren't able to pick up on, you know? Um, be kind to yourself and identify the triggers that cause your reaction. Determine steps to realign your energy to help you stay grounded by creating a safe and fun atmosphere where you can express yourself safely. Okay, so again, with the fun, right? Like I said, I feel like it is a good time when you are around, especially with people that you already vibe with. Maybe when you meet somebody new, not so much. Maybe you're more quiet, you're more in the background, you're more reserved. But I think once people get to know you, you're a lot of fun. I do feel like you are a good time, honestly. I would definitely like to hang out with you. Like, that's the vibe, you know? Okay, let me get some of these cards here, and then I think that will be it. Oh, we did not want to. Okay. And we have pleasure seekers. What did I tell you about? I feel you're a good time. Pleasure seekers 33. Look at that. These are three friends out having a good time. They're singing, they're walking around, they're exploring the town. 33, master number 33. 33 might have a significance for you, or this might have something to do with like your ancestors, the number 33. Hmm. And we do have three people here. Pleasure seekers. It does make me think of like going out cheating, going out looking for a good time. So again, maybe this is something from your ancestors, right? Where it's like there's pleasure seekers here. Okay. And we have fortune 13 breaking down to a 4. The number of stability, fortune here. You might be good with money too, or what I'm getting here next to the pleasure seekers is maybe you spend money a lot. Look at that. You see all the money that fortune has, and it is a 3 there too, right? 333. And then we have the pleasure seekers, just kind of like getting that good time. So maybe you spend a lot of money on a good time. Maybe you're able to blow a lot of money, but like on something fun, like on a trip, or taking your family to Disneyland or something like that. But I think maybe you might be somebody that has, like a good time spending money, and you're not somebody. I don't feel you somebody that like stuffy and stashes money and hides it, and that type of thing. I actually do feel like you enjoy it. You use it for what is meant to be used for, which was to spend, right? And I do feel that energy about you. Definitely feel a Libra energy with these two cards. Definitely feel Libra energy. And we have size with 41 breaking down to a 5. Changes, choices, and challenges. And she is signed. She's thinking of the past. Also, she might be waiting for somebody to come. There's a ship here. And she's almost like waiting. She's just like thinking, reminiscing, and waiting. She has a veil, though. She's wearing a black dress and she has a veil. You also might be reminiscent of the past, or thinking of like how things used to be in your family before. Hmm. Um, she has really thick eyebrows. I don't know why that stood out to me. Maybe you have like really full eyebrows, really beautiful full eyebrows is what I'm getting. That might be something too that comes from your ancestors. It's like she has very full eyebrows. I love it. Let me get one more, and I think that will be it here for you. What did you inherit from your ancestors? Pile 1. Okay, 26 breaking down to an 8 with malady. Oh my goodness. This might be an illness, Something that runs in your family. There might be an illness that runs in your family that you might have inherited. Oh, I'm sorry about this one. Um, so yeah, maybe getting sick, something, right? Some type of illness that has been passed down in your bloodline through your ancestors. Yeah. Hmm. He has a tea here and he has his medicine. Maybe you drink a lot of teas too for whatever this is. 28, 26 breaking down to an 8, the number of abundance. Mm, gosh. Also, what I'm getting is the people in your family and well, your ancestors, they might also be people that end up passing maybe like middle-aged, 50s, 60s, that type of age. Like I don't feel like they get to be like golden years, like, 80, 90, that type of thing. I don't feel that. I feel it's more like in 40s and 50s maybe. So they might pass a little younger than most people, and it could have to do with illnesses, right? Hmm. Wow. Hospital. I'm getting hospital. Okay. Having to have like long hospital stays. He's in his room. He's in his house, but I'm seeing in my mind's eye like hospitals and long hospital stays. Hmm. So maybe that is something that runs in your family. Okay, well, that's all I have for you, Pile 1. I hope this message resonates, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. So, for those of you who chose pile number 2, this 10 of Pentacles here, I always like to associate the piles with an element. And so, for this pile, I've associated it with Earth. So, you could be a Capricorn, Taurus, or Virgo. Okay. Um, I am getting that you might have inherited like musical talent from your ancestors. Like maybe you play an instrument or you sing. I feel like maybe singing, dancing, that type of thing is something that comes from your family. You might be a good dancer, you might be a good singer, you might be good with instruments, but I do feel like there's talent here that you inherited. Okay, so I definitely feel a lot of like inspirational energy and talent here. I'm also feeling like Cancer energy, like the water signs. But let's see. I don't know why I'm feeling such a romantic vibe here. That's why I was like saying the water signs, even though I did associate this power with Earth. I'm feeling kind of like a romantic, or somebody that would like maybe give somebody a serenade that they liked or wanted to date. In those days they would go and serenade them or sing them a song or something. I'm kind of getting that vibe, and maybe you're able to also like sing or dance or perform. What the heck was that? Hold on, something fell. That was a bag. Very interesting. There was a bag behind me and it just fell. Like, hmm. Okay. All right, let's see. And we have the Knight of Wands in the reverse. It is the Seeker of Spells in this deck. She's wearing a red dress. Really stands out. It's in the reverse. Very somebody that is very like, you turn heads. You definitely are somebody that turns heads. And maybe sometimes you're just busy minding your own business, in the store or shopping or whatever you're doing, you're minding your own business, right? But I do feel like even when you're not trying to get the attention, you get attention. And so I think this is also something that comes from like maybe some of your ancestors that were also people that were like head turners, that were very attractive. And she has a wand. She has a red dress and a wand. So I feel like almost people feel like you put a spell on them. And two, I'm seeing like peacocks and peacock energy. And again, I feel like that's with your ancestors. Maybe peacocks too might have something to do with your ancestors. They're associated with Oshun. So maybe you come from a line of ancestors that pray to goddess Oshun. Um, and maybe you also, but I'm seeing like peacock energy, somebody that stands out, people that stand out. So again, it's like being very attractive, and just like calling people in without trying to call them in. And again, that's where I'm kind of feeling that romantic serenading type of energy, um people falling in love. people falling in love with your ancestors' dance moves or something like that, and people are very like drawn to you too for whatever talents and skills you have like that. Maybe you play like an instrument or something. Okay, we have the Two of Visions, which is the Two of Cups. It is in the reverse. Kindred Spirits, also a red dress, just like this one here. And we have the Five of Boons in the reverse, the Five of Pentacles. Very interesting with these two cards, because I feel like if your ancestors had problems with their significant others, it was almost like there was somebody waiting in the wings, is what I'm hearing, like ready to swoop them in and get them and be with them. So I'm getting that again. It's like almost somebody kind of waiting in line, waiting their turn, you know, like when are you going to look at me? When do I get to date you? When are we going to be together? Like that type of energy here. And so I'm also getting that might be like with you also something maybe you deal with, like you barely get out of one relationship and you already have like 10 people hitting you up, you know, wanting to go out with you, something like that. Very interesting. I feel like your ancestors or one ancestor wouldn't be alone for long, is what I'm getting. Like they were going to, you know, um, have somebody new. They weren't going to be single for long. Okay. And we have the Seeker of Boons in the reverse, which is the Knight of Pentacles. Very interesting because it is earth energy. Boons is earth and it is in the reverse. And they could have had also money issues. Maybe finding like steady employment. That could have been an issue they had. Was finding like steady employment, a steady job, or somewhere to lay their roots. So maybe they had to like move constantly, or you know, look for a job constantly, or you know, something like that. And I feel like that might be maybe an issue that you also have to dealt with, whether it have been moving, like the card, whether it was moving often, or having to get a new job often. It's too many. Okay, there's a lot of red here, and then in this card too. So that red, that root chakra, first chakra. So again, I do feel like they've had difficulties in their stability and in their environment. There was difficulties, you know, maybe maintaining food on the table and things like that. So I do feel like maybe that is a problem that you've also had to deal with, since we do have the Five of Boons here. I feel like for them it was more of a struggle than for other people. Like let's say in their environment, in their area where they live, like let's say everybody was struggling, but they seem to have done it a little bit more than others. And even though in this card it's like a big banquet, right? It's like everybody's gathered, the whole family's gathered, they're all eating, they're all having a good time. But I do feel like it was kind of like tougher, like than most other people. But there's something here also again about how they drew people in and how they had this like creativity and this talent for like performing, for singing, for dancing, for playing the fiddle. I'm saying, you know, the fiddle, for playing some type of instrument or something like that. Almost giving me Little House on the Prairie vibes. You know what I mean? How in that town, Walnut Grove, everybody was like poor in Walnut Grove, but it almost seems like their family was the worst. You know, it was that type of thing. But he played a mean fiddle, didn't he? So I'm kind of getting that type of vibe here, like a struggle with finances. And we have the Child of Challenges in the reverse, okay, which is the Page of Swords. It is in the reverse. I feel like I feel a few things here. I feel a few things with this card. Um, with the Child of Challenges. I'm just gonna hold off on this thought here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and pull some more cards, and then we'll get back to that right now because I'm feeling a few different things. Okay. I'm going to be using my friend Raya's Shadow Work deck. And I have her shops linked in my description if you want to check out her shops. I also have a 5% coupon so that you can get a discount at checkout if you make a purchase from one of her decks, okay? All right. Okay. Here we go. Withdrawn. Are you kidding me? Because that's exactly the energy that I was getting here. Like somebody that, or a child that just kind of stayed quiet, didn't talk to people, didn't say things, because it is the child of challenges, right? It's in the reverse. So I'm getting somebody that is like withdrawn and quiet and doesn't talk about like their issues or their family business, that doesn't air out their dirty laundry out there like that. And then we get the withdrawn card. It's like, okay, I guess we'll talk about this card then. But I was getting a few different things with this card, but this one just kind of, it confirms one of those things, which was this withdrawn energy. So definitely this withdrawn child here. It came out. So, okay, so let's go ahead. 24 breaking down to a 6. Are you actively avoiding spending time with other people due to depression or pressure? So, yeah, so like I said, I feel like your ancestors had maybe struggles with living somewhere or working somewhere, things like that, and so it made it difficult for them to like open up or talk about it. And so I feel like maybe these are things that you've gone through, also experiences that you've had where money's been an issue, but again it's like you haven't aired out your dirty laundry and just kept it to yourself, and so it's like you withdrew from other people to keep from talking about it, or to just you don't want to burden people, or you feel like, oh, I don't want to tell people my troubles, or I don't want people to look down on me, or something like that, right? Okay, it says you prefer to be alone and try to avoid social interaction as much as possible due to social anxiety and or pressure. And like I said, I feel like you draw people in with like this peacock energy where even when you're not trying to, you draw people in. You could just be, you could be at work, just working, minding your business, and you have people like looking at you and they're like drawn to you. They want to know about you. They want to talk to you. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like there's something alluring here, but at the same time you're like, I'm just kind of doing my own thing, minding my business, and not talking about my life. You could also have issues with depression too, is what I'm getting. And so maybe this is something your ancestors also struggled with because of their situations in life, right? And this might be something that you've yourself also struggled with, and you're like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about my depression. I don't want to talk about my anxiety. I don't want to talk about my financial worries. You may have had more social failures than successes, thus making you feel discouraged. You begin to fear being social or feel that you just don't have a flair for it. And again, you do, but maybe you don't feel like you do, but you definitely do have that flair. I'll tell you that. Um, and may eventually lose your incentive to try. Or this behavior could stem from feeling burnt out from a job. Yeah, you can become so exhausted from the demands placed on you at work that you don't have any emotional energy left to interact socially when you're off the clock. First, begin by dealing with early social failures and gain confidence by engaging in different ways to respond to them. Understand everyone makes mistakes, and you're not a failure if you don't connect automatically with people. If you feel burned out, set firm boundaries and give yourself a time frame to reconnect. And do not feel guilty if you need a timeout to reset yourself mentally. Yeah, exactly. So this is probably something that you do when we have this as the last card here too. When you have this going on, you probably do just you back off and don't talk to people so that you can reset yourself. So again, it's like you're not telling people your business. You're not saying I'm going through this and I'm going through that. Like you don't do that. It's very earth energy actually to do this, to just withdraw and hold it in. It's very earth energy. Okay. But yeah, that might be something that you got from them. Okay. Oh, okay. Where did that card go? Let me see. Oh my gosh. Where is it? Oh, here. It's like it landed standing up, and I'm like looking for it to be laying on the floor, and it was actually standing like that. Wow. Okay. Guilt trips, 55. Okay. Do you guilt trip others because you do not have the skills or language to assertively communicate your needs or feelings? So maybe you might make other people feel guilty, maybe unintentionally, right? Because again, you're not talking about these things that you have going on, the rain, the clouds in your head. You don't have these things that you're sharing with people, and maybe they feel guilty for not talking to you or not getting you to share with them. You make others feel guilty in order to induce them to do something. You attempt to guilt trip others and make them feel responsible for a particular outcome and to get what you want out of others. The purpose is this: to upset the person and to manipulate them into feeling regretful and ashamed of themselves. Yeah, so I feel like this sounds like emotional manipulation, right? Ooh. So maybe people feel like maybe you do that. Maybe they feel like you have them. Oh my goodness, this card is not trying to stay. That maybe you have like emotional manipulation. But again, I feel like you kind of shutting them out just so that you can kind of, regain yourself, your balance. It makes them feel like, oh well, I should have talked to pile two, I should have, been there for them. But I feel like it's just naturally you, it's who you are, to just kind of take care of it yourself, deal with the issues alone. Okay, let me get one more into this. Oh my gosh, this card does not want to stay. Okay, I'll just leave it like this. One more. This card 55. Changes, choices, and challenges. Okay, we have too many cards. All right. We have stubborn. Yeah, you exactly. Earth signs for sure. Okay, 29. Stubborn. Are you being stubborn because you are fearful of change? So, okay. Are you unwilling and unyielding to give in spite of reason, arguments, or persuasion from others? Okay, so you might be set in your ways. This might be a thing too that you got from your ancestors. Maybe they were very set in their ways, or how they went about things and how they did things. And maybe that's kind of how you are too. You might be set in your ways. And I feel like also it's like, well, we don't blab in my family. We don't snitch. We don't talk about those things. So I do feel like maybe that's kind of like some of the stuff that you're carrying, and people are like, hey, pile two, why don't you talk, why don't you come tell us why does and you're like, that's just not how I am. That's not how I'm programmed, right? Let's see. You have difficulty compromising with others because of your frail mental stability. You perceive attempts to change your mind as personal attacks, yeah, at an unconscious level. You are always on your guard and will lash out at anyone who tries to question you. Instead of accepting new information or entertaining the possibility that someone else could be right, you prefer to argue your point of view. The first step is to understand what is behind the stubbornness. You have to uncover some of the experiences that led you to this behavior. Yeah, again, I do feel like this is how maybe you grew up. Like, in our family, we don't talk, we don't share our family business outside with other people. So again, maybe like that's what you were told, and that's just how you are, right? And so it's kind of like having to kind of look at that, at like, well, people want to know why I'm like this, why I don't talk, why I don't share. Well, it's because of this, because this is how I grew up, this is how my family is, this is how we do things. This stubbornness often comes from as a survival mechanism. Become more aware of the underlying issues behind your compulsion to be right. Ouch. I'm like, ouch, okay. So, yeah, maybe needing to look at that. And again, to you, again, this might be right to you. You're like, well, this is how it's always been. This is how I've always been since a child, and this is how we've always been in my family. But to others, it might not seem right. Again, to you, it's right, but maybe not for others, right? It's different strokes for different folks. And people might look at you like, pile two, why do you not come to us when you need help? Why do you not come to us when you lose your job? Why didn't you tell us that got evicted or whatever? You know what I mean? All right, let's see what else we have for you. Pile two. Oh, let me get one more. You do have child here, so yeah, so since childhood. Oh, these cards don't want to come out. Joyfulness. See, and I do see this is joyfulness with friends, and 21 breaking down to a 3. So you definitely do have friends. You definitely do have your close circle. But again, I feel like they look at you like, why do you shut down and why do you close us out when you're going through things? But again, it's like that's your way of like resetting yourself. And then we have frivolity here, 15, breaking down to a 6 with this butterfly here. And the child and joyfulness, yeah. So I feel like people might think that you don't care at certain times. Hmm. Two partnerships. It could be in In the romance department too, you might even shut down your significant other at times and not share with them. But again, it's just the way it's always been for you. I don't think this is something new or something that you like recently developed. Like the people that know you know that this is what you do. Like this is you. You will shut down, maybe cut people off for 2, 3 months and then reappear again and talk to them again. You know what I mean? So it's like those that know you know that that's how you are. Okay, what is this? And we have thought. Look at that, 47. Okay, thought here. So you're definitely somebody that's always thinking. And he has the hourglass. He's looking at the hourglass. You're probably worried about time or getting things done in time, or there's not enough time to do this. And again, I do feel like also your ancestors had those worries probably a little stronger than the other people in their environment, because their struggle was probably a little bit more. And they're like, how will I get the money in time? How will I get the crops in time? Or, you know what I mean? It's like something like a constant worry about time. And I feel like that's something that you have to, where you're always thinking, you're always in thought, you're always thinking, and there's a lot of worries here, a lot of anxiety too, like I said. And we have cheerfulness here. Look at that with number one, cheerfulness. And look, he has these two women cheering him, right? They're like holding their glasses up and they're giving, they're doing the toast or whatever. So again, I feel like you're somebody that definitely has eyes on you for others. Others definitely have their eyes on you, and they kind of look at you like wanting time with you, or wanting a new beginning with you, or wanting a piece of you, basically. Like there's a lot of people wanting a piece of you, like I said, I feel like there's something very attractive about you here, but you don't even pay attention. You're probably just always worried and stressed over things that you don't really pay attention to other people and how they perceive you, or you don't care how they perceive you. You're just like, I'm too worried to care. All right, pile 2, that's all I have for you. I hope this message resonates, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. So for those of you who chose pile number 3, this 10 of Pentacles here, I always like to associate the piles with an element. And so for this pile, I've associated it with fire. So you could be an Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, okay? What I am getting right away for you is like Queen of Wands energy with this pile. So Queen of Wands, she's very beautiful, very confident, and very witchy too. She has spiritual gifts. So that could be something that you inherited from your ancestors. Could be your looks, could be your confidence, and it could be spiritual gifts too. I'm hearing Clairaudience. So maybe you inherited Clairaudience, which is clear hearing, where you can hear spirit. So that might be something you inherited from them. But like I said, very witchy vibes here in this pile. And see how they're all formed, gathering in a circle, all holding hands, doing some type of spell or ritual here. So I'm definitely getting very witchy vibes here. You might come from a line of witches. We do have, it says legacy and wealth on this card. So there's that legacy of like you being like them, of again having that witchy gift, those abilities. Like I said, I heard Clairaudience. Look at that. Right away, we have the Queen of Winter, which is the Queen of Swords with intellect. Blue lace agate. Okay, we do have the Queen of Winter here showing up right away. And it's very interesting because she has red hair. And in this card, they all have red hair too. So maybe red hair is something you could have inherited from your ancestors. Intellect. Okay, it says intellect. So maybe you inherited your intellect too. I'm feeling something with the hands. So you could have had ancestors, or an ancestor that was a doctor, a healer, a shaman, something with their hands. And I feel like you have that too. There's something with your hands that are very healing. So again, either they were like a doctor or some type of healer, right? Spiritual healer, medicine woman, medicine man, something like that. We have the 10 of spring in the reverse, which is the 10 of wands with bird and cinnabar. It's in the reverse. She also has red hair and she's wearing a red dress. It's in the reverse. I feel like your ancestors, or one ancestor in particular, was able to help people. They were somebody that was like hands-on. So that's what I'm kind of getting, like almost like fire or medicine coming from their hands. So it was like their hands were very healing. They were definitely able to help people heal their bodies. Very medicine person. And I feel like you have that ability too. So you might do Reiki, or be in medicine, be a nurse, doctor, something like that, right? Where you help people. Okay, we have the 5 of fall in the reverse, which is the 5 of pentacles with disconnected malachite. Disconnected here. Malachite, earth element. It's in the reverse though. I am feeling a connection here because it's in the reverse. It's like reconnecting with those energies. So again, it's like they have definitely the ability to work with energies, maneuver energies, shift energies, connect with those energies. And I feel like you have it too. This is a very witchy pile here. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, too many cards. And we have the 6 of fall in the reverse, which is the 6 of pentacles with reciprocity, rainbow hematite in the reverse. Again, it's the card of reciprocity, and I feel like a connecting people, healing people. Giving to people. You could have had ancestors that were very giving too. They were very giving to other people, whether they gave them food, time, healing, whatever. But I feel like they were very giving here with this card here, because it is in the reverse. And I like this card when it is in the reverse because it tells me that they were very giving. They gave a lot of themselves here to make others happy, to help people. And I feel like you have this energy too. Okay. And we have the 10 of summer. Wow, it's in the reverse, which is the 10 of cups with soul ties in the reverse with stitch tight. Look at that. This card here, the 10 of summer, 10 of cups. It's in the reverse though with soul ties. Again, I feel like being able to still have the soul tied with those that are no longer in the physical. Very mediumship qualities. Being able to still connect with the souls of those that transcended. Stitched tight. Yeah, it's still connected, still stitched together. And you have that too. It's like they were able to connect with their ancestors and you're able to connect with them now as ancestors. It's very like sewn together, very woven together, this connection. Okay. All right, let me get some of these cards from my friend Raya's shadow work deck. I have her shops linked in my description if you want to check out her shops and check out her decks. I also have a 5% coupon in case you want to make a purchase. That way you can get a discount at checkout, okay? Okay, we have 56 with hypocrite. Ouch. Look at these angel wings are on fire. So again, it makes me feel that witchy energy, whereas people are like, oh yeah, like, with your ancestors, and even you, people might be like, oh yeah, you're such a good person, you claim to be a good person, but what's up with all this witchy stuff? Why do you do spells? Why do you do this? Why do you do that if you're such a good person? And it's kind of people thinking you're a hypocrite, but it's them not really understanding that you don't have to go to church, or you don't have to, whatever beliefs that they think are the right beliefs for you to have in order for you to be a good person. So let's see. Okay, hypocrite. Do you use hypocrisy to avoid looking at your own shortcomings? You act in contradiction to your stated beliefs. Yeah, again, so I feel like people judged your ancestors, or this person, this ancestor, as somebody that was like in contradiction of what they were saying or what they believed. And I feel like it's the same with you. People think you're like in a contradiction of people saying, well, you're a good person, so why are you, into witchcraft, or why do you do this, or what, you know what I mean? Okay. You act in contradiction to your stated beliefs or feelings. You behave in a way that is not sincere. You may sincerely believe in objective morality, a universal moral code everyone must abide by, but you find yourself making excuses when it comes to your shortcomings. You may accuse one person of doing exactly what you are doing, but believe it is different when that person has done it. This is usually caused by an inflated sense of ego and self-righteousness. In addition to with an ability to be humble. I can't pronounce these big words. Inability to be humble. Um, where was I? Mm, Self-righteous. This is in addition to an ability to be humble. It is a form of projection, which is a common defense mechanism that takes place in adolescence. It is your gain control over a situation without admitting any wrongdoing. At the root of it, it is your strong desire to be loved and accepted. You fear judgment so much that you use doublethink and cognitive disassociance to avoid facing yourself. You must first examine your own moral code and determine, is there any contradictions. Next, stop feeling you need to be perfect and accept your flaws. Lastly, remember to place yourself in other shoes and to think about where you are and where you are coming from. Wow. Wow. Okay. So again, maybe they believe that your ancestor was a hypocrite. And they might also think that of you, because again, look at these angel wings. They are burning, they're on fire. So people are probably like saying, you're no angel. Your wings are on fire. Gives me Lilith vibes, right? Lilith energy. Hmm. Wow. Okay. What else do we have? Oh, okay. We have domineering, number 5. Okay, let's see what it says about domineering. Um, does your feelings of mistrust cause you to assert power over someone else? You try to control other people without any consideration for their feelings or opinions. You feel a need to control everything around you in order to feel at peace. You may not trust everyone else to handle things the way you would. There might have been a traumatic event in your life that has caused you to want to take control of things and of people in order to feel a sense of normalcy. When people do not do what you say, you tend to feel disrespected and may lash out violently or use psychological scare tactics. Remember, your controlling nature is rooted in fear. Tap into what you're afraid of and focus on healing internally instead. Wow, so I do feel like people might even be afraid of you, feeling like maybe you assert too much power and they don't like it. They're like, what's wrong with you? Why do you? So maybe you might have or a need to control, or it looks like you have a need to control, right? Or maybe you're right. Maybe people can't do things the way you can do it, right? But I feel like people might fear that about you, and they're like, well, why do you do that, or why do you do it like that? And it might also be something that again was an issue with your ancestors. Um, it's like people saying, why do you want to be the boss, or why do you want to be in control, or why do you want to help out so much, or why do you want to be the one to do it? So it's like people judging your intentions is what I'm getting here. And your intentions might be good, but I feel like some people might not understand those intentions, and might be like, well, why do you want to help, or the way you're helping isn't the right way, or it's not the way we want help. You know what I mean? Okay. And we have restless here with 10 breaking down to a 1. Very pretty. She's wearing a green dress. Okay, restless is your compulsion to move based on an intense sensation of unease within yourself. You are unwilling or unable to stay still or to be quiet and calm because of anxiety or worry. So again, you know how people right here are saying that you might lash out, might be the same thing here with this restless, or like because you can't calm down or calm yourself down, you lash out. You have, you know, too much worry, too much on your mind, too much going on, and you seem to get fired up. You seem to get like intense, right? So again, I feel like people might fear you, and maybe you've had ancestors that were also feared by people. Okay, and I kind of get that energy here. You might be feared by people. People might think you're gonna put the whoop on them, you know. Okay, let's go ahead and get some of these cards, and I think that will be it for you. I just wanted to take a quick look. Okay, pile 3. Let me get 3 for pile 3, please. We have Messenger 29, breaking down 2011, breaking down 282 with Messenger. Okay, and we have Joyfulness with 21, breaking down to a 3. Yeah, because I do feel here with Messenger and Joyfulness, I do feel like you want to help people, you want to give them good news, you want to, whatever it is, I feel like you're wanting to help them in some sort of way. And other people might take it wrong or might not like the way you do things, but I do feel like your intentions are to help people, are to make them happy, are to heal them, are to make them feel better in whatever way that is. And I feel like you had ancestors that did that too. Okay. And we have Pleasure Seekers 33. This card keeps coming out. I think it's already came out in both the other 2 piles. So we do have the Pleasure Seekers here, which is the 3 guys. And then we have the Joyfulness here, which is the 3 girls. And then we have the Messenger here. Okay, so good company is what I heard. Having good company around. You definitely might be good company to be around, because again, I feel like you have this need to help people. Pleasure seeker, you might, like I said, you might want to just make them feel good. You want to give them pleasure, you know, whether it's healing, talking to them, you know, in whatever way that is. I feel like you're somebody very helpful, almost like you give people therapy. Honestly, it's almost like free therapy. You're giving people free therapy, and they like to be around you because of that. Hmm. Very wise here, very wise energy. Could have had an ancestor too that was like a mail carrier or something like that. I'm getting. Okay, maybe you work at the post office, but I'm getting that type of energy where they brought news, they brought communication, they brought healing. They, you know, it's like they. They brought a sense of relief to people, and I feel like you do that too, in whatever way that is. Like I said, maybe you do Reiki, maybe you do healing, maybe even talking to them, therapy, something, right? You're there for them. You're a shoulder to lean on. Okay. All right. Well, that's all I have for you, pile three. I hope this message resonates, and I'll talk to you later. Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. So, for those of you who chose pile number four, this Ten of Pentacles here, I always like to associate the piles with an element. And so, for this pile, I've associated it with water. So, it could be Pisces, Cancer, or Scorpio, okay? I think this is a beautiful Ten of Pentacles because this hand here, it's like an older hand and that already has the family here. And then here's the stairs, and then the stairs are connecting to this hand. It's a younger looking hand, and the stairs are connecting to this hand, and the older hand has the roots on it. It has the roots planted on this hand, and it seems to have grown a tree onto this hand. So it's kind of like, again, the ancestors have passed down to you. You've inherited something from them. And like I was saying in pile three, I felt something with their hands, like there was a magic touch in their hands. And for you, you have the hands actually in your pile, but I feel like you also have something with your hands. Not so much as in like how pile three had like the healing touch in their hands. With you, I feel like your hands have more the history, the story of what you're able to do with them. So I feel like you might be somebody that, you know, maybe even has like dolls, or you're able to like make dolls, like let's say out of corn husks or something like that, because maybe that's how they had them. That's how your ancestors made dolls, out of, you know, corn husks, and put little eyes and made a little homemade dress and stuff like that. So I feel like you're able to also maybe have some of those things or create some of those things with your hands. So you're definitely somebody that's been passed down something, and you appreciate like your history, your lineage, your bloodline. I do feel like you are somebody that appreciates that. Okay. And before I turn the camera on, this card fell on the floor. This is from another deck that I have here next to me, and this card fell on the floor. I'm not going to use this deck, but I thought it was interesting how this card just fell by itself. It is the King of Swords, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, and the King of Swords is about communication. It is about clarity. It is about the truth. So I do feel like you have a lot of appreciation for history and the stories of your ancestors and things like that. I do feel like you have a connection and an appreciation for that. Okay, on the bottom we have the Three of Swords. Look at that, more air element, like how we had that King of Swords. There is a book here. He's reading the book, and there's the three swords in the book. So it's kind of like whatever he's reading, it's heartbreaking. Like the information he's getting out of this book it's heartbreaking. So you might know the story of your ancestors and what they went through and their struggles and heartaches, and you might, again, you might be somebody that appreciates that, to have that history, to have that knowledge, to have that understanding, that you have those stories, you know. And it might be heartbreaking for you to hear some of it or to know of some of it, because again, he's reading the book, and I feel like whatever he's reading is what's like, oh my gosh, it's heartbreaking. Okay, so let's go ahead and get some cards here for you. What did pile four inherit from their ancestors? What did pile four inherit from their ancestors? We have the devil in the reverse. Oh, wow. And this is an angel. Look, and he's like tied up. And again, instead of being able to fly away, not only is he tied up, but he's like rooted down here. So kind of like with this hand, right? With the roots here. And it's in the reverse. So this is toxic habits, right? Toxic habits, behaviors, patterns, toxic people. So this might be maybe addiction too. Maybe you've had, you know, ancestors that maybe had like drinking problems and things like that, and maybe that's something that you inherited, and maybe you kind of were drinking heavily, or around people that were negative and, you know, maybe not the best people to be around. People that kept you from spreading your wings, right? Because his wings, like, they're tied up. He can't fly. So you maybe have been around people who have kept you from spreading your wings, and that might be something that was also in your ancestors, that they weren't able to do what they wanted with their life, right? Maybe they had to live life a certain way and do things that way and not the way they actually wanted it. We have justice in the reverse. Wow. Okay, Libra energy. So right away we have two major arcanas and they are both in the reverse. So here it, you know, we do have like things being unjust. So again, with this, they could have had their wings clipped, right? Your ancestors could have had their wings clipped by people and said, no, you can't do that. Or you can't go to school because you have to work the farm. Or you can't, you know, move away because we need you here for this. Or, you know, it was like there's difficulties and it wasn't what they wanted. So it was more about being constrained. And here we are with Justice, Libra energy in the reverse. Yeah, maybe they weren't able to to pursue the things they wanted, and it might be something that you've also felt that you've been stuck with also and unable to pursue the things that you wanted because of whatever, you know what I mean, of whatever. It's almost like you feel almost like similarities in their life situations and yours, maybe not in the way that you're living, but in like the type of situations where it's a struggle. Okay, and we have the Fool. Are you kidding me? Another major arcana. So all three cards so far are major arcana. We do have the Fool. Again, the Fool wants to, you know, wants a new beginning, right? He wants a fresh start. And so I do feel like maybe your ancestors or your ancestor, one particular, couldn't get that fresh start. They couldn't move where they wanted to. They couldn't go where they wanted to. They had to stay. And that might be your thing too, where you felt stuck. Like I said, you might have felt like you couldn't pursue the dreams or the passions that you wanted to, and you had to do whatever else you had to do that was, you know, that wasn't by choice. Okay, we have the Six of Pentacles. And this is the card of reciprocity. It is in the upright. I don't like this card in the upright. I like it when it's in the reverse. Pile 3 had it in the reverse. But in the upright, I don't like it so much because it tells me that somebody's giving and somebody is taking. So we don't have a fair balance here. And we do have justice in the reverse. So things have not been fair. Things have not been balanced. So you might have had ancestors that went through a lot of things that weren't fair. Things didn't balance out for them. Maybe people cheated them out of things, lied to them. And it might be the same situation for you where you've had people in your surroundings, like I said, maybe not so good people in your energy that were you know, that were negative, bad influences, things like that, and that maybe lied to you or cheated you out of things or kept you from having new beginnings. They clipped your wings and you weren't able to have new beginnings like your ancestors, you know. Ooh, okay. And we have the Seven of Swords. Oh my gosh, look at that. So we go from the Six of Pentacles to the Seven of Swords. And again, it is deception. It is lies. It is like somebody cheating you out of something, lying to you about something, and maneuvering to their benefit and not to yours. Yeah, keeping you stuck. Only for their gains and not yours. And again, it's almost like we have the story with your ancestor or ancestors repeating itself. Oh, the card just fell. So it's like the story is repeating itself, but in a different way. It's that stuck energy of where you can't seem to better yourself or better your life. It's like wanting things to turn around and not being able to turn these things around. Oh my goodness. The Devil, Capricorn energy. Wow. And we have number 9 here with, what does that say? Heidi? Okay, it says, do you become unreliable due to your fear of intimate relationships? You have trouble with developing intimate relationships, but you're uncomfortable with being alone. You have difficulty staying focused on one thing or being reliable when it comes to making plans. Your personal connections are limited, and people only see you as a shallow side, only see the shallow side of you. One minute you're here and the next you're there. What makes you want to move on so quickly? I think it's that feeling stuck energy that makes you want to move on but feeling like you can't. Do you fear others leaving you first? Do you feel people won't accept you for who you are? Are you uncomfortable in your own skin? When you face what you're afraid of, you can begin to enjoy the little moments more and start to appreciate what you bring to the table. Yeah, I do feel like fear here, and also like of what you bring to the table, feeling like what you bring to the table gets taken away or it gets dismissed as it's not enough. Hmm. Okay, so we have 40 here, breaking down to a 4 with meddling. It says, are you unsatisfied with your life that you find yourself interfering in someone else's life? You intrude in other people's affairs or business without right or invitation. At times, you may not limit your opinion, but interfere in relationships causing harm. You not only believe you have the right to judge the relationships of others, but you feel you can slander until the relationship falls apart. You may enjoy negativity interfering with a friend or relative's relationships because it harms a romantic partner you didn't like. But see, I don't feel like this is your energy. I feel like this is the energy your ancestor went through. And I feel like this is something that you've also in this life have gone through again, where it's like you're doing something, but not by your choice, but it's a choice that somebody else made for you, like a parent or, guardian, something like that. And it's like something you didn't want to do, but those around you or whoever was in your environment made you take that route or made you do it. And again, it's the same thing with the ancestors. Like maybe they wanted to leave, maybe they wanted to leave the town, maybe they wanted to go to school, maybe they wanted whatever, and they weren't able to because it's like, no, this is what we need you to do, and this is what you're going to do, you know? The damage suffered by the loved one is considered collateral damage. You may be calculating, deceitful, and manipulative. And here we do have the Seven of Swords, which is calculating, deceitful, and manipulative. And again, I feel like this is the energy your ancestor went through and you've gone through. So I don't feel this is you. You must ask yourself if you're jealous of others and why you have a need to sabotage their relationships. Do you feel others need to be unhappy because you're unhappy, or do you feel you need to always do it better than others? I do feel like this is a very stuck energy that your ancestors were in and that you've been in. And again, it's like maybe because others have been unhappy, they wanted you to kind of help them make it better for them, but it also made you unhappy. But it's kind of like that saying, misery loves company, right? So I do feel like you've had that experience, and so did your ancestors, where it's kind of like you're going to be miserable, but you're going to be here miserable with the rest of us being miserable, you know? Okay, so let me get one more, please. Okay. Self-critical, 57. He's put a hammer to his face. Okay, are you constantly trying to prove yourself because you fear the judgment or disapproval of others? Like I said, with this Six of Pentacles, this is what I feel like, somebody taking and not giving, or somebody that is like, well, what you bring to the table isn't enough. What you give is not enough. Like just very toxic energy of wanting, more. It's almost like trying to bleed you. You're inclined to find fault in yourself by criticizing the actions or decisions you make. You never feel completely content with yourself, and you feel you can never do enough. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I get here. Um, your weaknesses, your shortcomings, and mistakes are constantly on your mind. And we did have that King of Swords fall on the floor. You need a break. Being too critical of yourself makes you feel sad and shameful and can have you become preoccupied with your own mistakes and failures. Your early childhood experiences, yes, like I said, in childhood, this could have been something that was, done to you. Um, Caregivers played an important role in forming your identity. The feedback you received were masked with negativity instead of constructive feedback, thus creating a sensitivity to making mistakes. You ultimately felt out of control or inferior to others. Being by Begin by noticing your own thoughts and how your body feels physically. This can help decrease negative thoughts. Next, increase your self-compassion and accept that you are only human and are fallible, and that is okay. Be accepting of yourself, you know. You've had definitely had a lot of injustices here. Here with the devil in the reverse and with the justice in the reverse, I definitely do feel like your ancestors went through a lot of injustices, a lot of discrimination is what I'm feeling here. Race discrimination, culture discrimination. Like, I just feel like a lot of discrimination, and it's that feeling of like not being enough or not doing things right or something like that. And also you may be feeling um, those thoughts, also about yourself, being self-critical, inclined to fault yourself. Yeah, you might be inclined to fault yourself over things which are not right, which are not true, but you kind of overly focus on them because it's maybe some a way that you've been made to feel, to focus on them, that what you were was not enough. Hmm, very interesting. Okay. Let me get three, please. Let me get three. Oh, okay. Okay. And we have number 5, conversation. Look at that. Conversation with family, right? About, patterns, behaviors, um, continuing things that are rooted in you, right? Conversations. And then we have 44 with sweetheart. And we have 15 with frivolity. So, yeah, so again, maybe not being able to be with who you wanted to be with or do what you wanted to do, because again, it's those feelings of being criticized, and you also being critical with yourself. So not only being criticized by others, but you judging yourself too, like saying I'm not good enough, or looking in the mirror and saying I'm not attractive enough, right? I wish I had these features instead of these features. So there's a lot of um harsh judgment here in your head with yourself. And again, I do feel like this is something that your ancestors also had. Hmm. She's holding the phone, communication, and then we do have conversations here. So again, I feel like this is something that you've heard a lot, or you know, it's been like embedded a lot. I just heard Betty. Okay. Somebody's name might be Betty. Keep hearing Betty, right? Last videos too. I think last two videos I also heard Betty. And here I have it again. Somebody has an ancestor named Betty. Hmm. Or Bess. Bess. Okay, well, that's all I have for you. I hope this message resonates, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.